Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this. Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
Google has found a new way to piss me off.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Every time I say it, it's going to suck even more.
May I present to you the cat?
I am Nadella.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing.
Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Hi.
And we are here to talk all things tech this week. And boy, there's a little bit. So we got a little bit to talk about.
It was a
we wanna
fun
mention.
week, right?
I'm so excited.
It's
great.
going to be interesting. You know, I think we're going to find out how much these, how much more expensive tech is going to be in this next week.
You know, listener, I just wanted to say, I brought good news to the podcast.
Yeah. He's typing his stuff into the notes for the podcast tonight, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm going to put all of my stuff before Landon's stuff so that we end on a high note.
There you go. I mean, I brought some things. I mean, you can call it good or bad, whatever you want to call it, but
That's true. Your stuff seems to be fairly neutral, so I guess that's good.
we'll go with that.
It's
Well, let's
just
start
me.
off.
I'm a downer today.
You're a dad. Listen here.
Gummit.
Hey, but we accept for who you are. Okay, listen. That's the
You
Apple guy we wanted. Was
Toxic
this,
and
right?
obnoxious person.
Toxic, obnoxious Apple. Well, we don't have any Apple news. Let's be real, but we'll move on.
No.
We got some Google news. Here on Google, we're going to be talking about the Android XR.
All right, listener. So during Samsung's event, they hinted a little bit at some Android XR stuff that they're working on with the new headset. They also announced at the very end of last year, I think is when it was, that they were working with Google on this Project Muhan headset thing. They didn't give a lot of details about it. They just said, oh, yeah, by the way, we're doing this. And okay. So after the event, I should say, they did invite a few people to play around with this headset that they've been working on with Google. And it's very reminiscent of the Apple Vision Pro when it comes to how it looks, also how it functions. But it does not have the creepy eye thing on the front, which thank goodness, because
That's great. Huge improvement. Love that.
yeah, seriously. So, I mean, if you really want to get a good look at what the software looks like, what the headset looks like, the main video out there is Marquez Brownlee. He actually got to record and talk about his using of the headset. Other people did get to use it and play around with it, but they did not get to take pictures or videos of it. But it is, like I said, it's very much like what Apple has done with their headset, just very Google-fied. And that's fine. Like, the one nice thing here is it can run anything in the Play Store, just straight up. So there's that. So there's lots of apps for it. I mean, you can do that with, like, the Apple Vision Pro can run iPad apps. And it's very similar the way it works. It's basically just a window pops up that is like what you would get from the Play Store. Like, that version of the app is just there. You can resize different things and whatnot. And like it has some of the same like you use your fingers to move stuff around and whatnot. It has eye tracking. From what I understand, the eye tracking is nearly not quite as good as Apple's, but very close to as good as Apple's. And it doesn't work in quite the same way, but it did look very interesting. And strangely enough, the one thing that a lot of people are talking about that have used it that they actually really liked about it was the fact that it had Gemini built in. And now, listener, you might think, wait, why are people excited about AI being into this headset? Well, the way you use Gemini in this headset is more of like an assistant, and you can just talk to it and have it do certain things. And most people actually are like, that's my favorite way to use Gemini.
Mhm.
Is,
It's,
going
it's
around
basically as Google Assistant.
yes, inside of this headset.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
just a way to maneuver around the user interface and stuff like that. If you don't want to use your hands, and right now there's no controllers for it, there is going to be some people that make versions or an Android XR headset that will have controllers, and Samsung I think did say that controllers will be compatible. They just didn't have them in this little briefing they showed off with it, but so it's pretty interesting though. It actually gives, like, I think it'll be nice the way this headset looked. It was, like I said, it's very similar to the Apple Vision Pro, even to the point that the battery goes in your back pocket and it's wired in, which, after I've listened to a lot of people that have used the Vision Pro and also used this, I don't think that's as big of a deal as we initially thought it was going to be. It is kind of annoying. The one benefit that Google has with this Samsung one anyways is the wire on the battery comes out and it's just a USB-C port. So you could plug that USB-C cable into a bigger battery or the wall, depending on how long you get a cable. So whereas Apple's, you can't unplug it.
Is it just a USB-C port on both ends of the cable too, like where it plugs into the headset? Or
I didn't notice that on the headset. It looked like it was just like the cable went into the headset on its own. I don't know for sure.
Oh,
I have
interesting.
to rewatch the videos. I don't know. They didn't. No video. Or Marquez's video at least didn't show that, and nobody's mentioned it. But they did mention it coming out of the battery. So at least on that end, it's USB-C, and you can change out what battery you use or what cord.
I mean,
things like that.
Hopefully it's non-proprietary and it's a removable connection from the headset as well.
That would be nice.
If so, you could get a much shorter cable, and then you could get a custom battery that's designed to mount onto the strap at the back, which would actually kind of help counterbalance the weight of the headset on the front. That's the thing that I don't get about the batteries is like, okay, sure, detached battery to keep the weight away from your eyes. I get that. I'm all for it. But why haven't you just stuck the battery around the back of the head?
Right.
Like, take the weight away from the eyes, put it on the back of the head. That helps balance it out, which means the weight is settled more evenly across your head so that you don't end up with the situation of the headset, like, pinching your head quite so hard, which is an issue that the Vision Pro has had. So, I don't know. But if the cable is, in fact, just a non-proprietary standard USB-C cable, then you could totally jury-rig that up without too much difficulty, and you wouldn't even have like a giant long cable to deal with either. So
and like the way this is going to work is like a lot of people have been comparing this to the Nexus program, where Google is coming out with the software, and then they're working with other companies to make the hardware, and some will be more expensive. Like the Samsung headset will probably be on the more pricey side. Some people are talking probably around that $2,000, maybe $1,500 price range. So cheaper than the Apple Vision Pro, but still not cheap by any means. But other companies could come out with something that's closer to that, Meta Quest price around $500 or anywhere between $500 and up, So we could get other companies making something like that you just plug it in with a standard USB-C cable and you can use your own, or the battery could just be attached somewhere more that makes more sense. So obviously we have yet to see that. We've only got this first one at the moment, but I do like where things are going. And the other nice thing is Google has said that this Android XR software could work on anything from these headsets to also glasses. And that's where I'm still holding out on something like that. Obviously, we have to wait a while for the technology to fit into a smaller frame for glasses. But I'm more interested in that because that just makes more sense. It's more of something that you can use on a regular basis, where these headsets, you can't really just, some people do, but you shouldn't just walk around with these things on and, go about your day, because you look like an idiot.
Yep.
A rich idiot, but an idiot nonetheless. But yeah, that's the Android XR platform that is being talked about now. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this. I'm sure Google will be all over this at Google I/O. I bet there will be a big part of the keynote dedicated just to this. I mean, hopefully at least. Hopefully they don't just put it off into a side part of the conference after the keynote, which they could do. I hope they don't. I don't think they will, but it also wouldn't shock me if they did, because they have to talk about Gemini the rest of the 2-hour keynote. So I'm excited for this. Looks interesting.
Very, very interesting. Okay. I'm going to move on. We're going to go to general tech news. We're going to first talk about one of Caleb's favorite topics. Well, we'll just say dramatic topics. I don't know what you call it. We're going to talk about some DeepSeek drama.
Yeah. So, listener, you might have heard the name DeepSeek in the past week.
Yeah.
If you haven't, welcome to the internet. So DeepSeek, this drama has been freaking obnoxious, and it's AI, of course. It's AI related. Nothing in the world cannot be related to AI in this day and age, and it frustrates the crap out of me. But
so bad.
What DeepSeek is a Chinese company that this past week released an open source AI large language model that compares quite well with in AI benchmarks, which is a thing people are doing. Benchmarking AIs. Freaking
really?
Stop wasting your time, humans. Anyways, compares favorably to stuff from the top developers in the United States for this kind of thing, like OpenAI and Google and whatnot. The stuff that the language models they've developed, it compares favorably to those. What's notable about it is, in addition to it being open source, so that people can actually look at how it works and which is kind of cool. It runs a lot lighter, meaning it doesn't require nearly as much hardware oomph in order to quickly process and provide accurate answers and stuff like that. In fact, I did see a video of a dude getting it to run, or getting one of the versions to run on a Raspberry Pi.
Wow.
As opposed to a $1,400 Nvidia GPU, which is what Nvidia wants you to think is required for these large language models.
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi, guys. This thing draws like 100th or 1,000th as much power as an Nvidia GPU. So, it's much lighter weight. And according to the company that made this thing, they spent about $6 million developing and training this thing in terms of hardware and labor and whatnot, which, when compared to something like OpenAI's offerings, they've spent, I think, $65 billion with a B on stuff like ChatGPT. So, and they just recently secured promises from the U.S. government and the incoming Trump administration that they were going to get even more government money to spend on further development of these AI models, to the tune of something like $100 billion to be spread between OpenAI and Microsoft and Google and other companies that are involved with this stuff. And then here comes DeepSeek and is all like, hey, we spent $6 million on a model that performs pretty much as well as all of your stuff. So a couple of things came out of this declaration, because if you think about $6 million compared to 60 something billion dollars, those are like the difference between $6 million and $65 billion is essentially mathematically, statistically the same as the difference between $0 and $65 billion, right? Like $6 million is less than a rounding error for 65 billion, right? These numbers are nowhere close to each other, listener. If you haven't heard of it, you think about it in terms of this. If you wanted to count from 1 to 1,000,000, it would take you about 11 days. If you wanted to count from 1 to 1,000,000,000, it would take you 33 years. Okay? Like, there's a picture book called How Much is a Million? You should go read it, listener. It helps put some of the money amounts that we talk about and stuff like this into context. So, yeah, that's a big thing. And the two main outcomes from this was, first, that everybody in Wall Street got spooked by the concept that, oh, it doesn't actually require that much computer hardware to run a large language model, as it turns out, if you do it the way these guys did it. And they started dumping Nvidia's stock, like, really hard.
It tanked
which
a
was
lot.
so funny to watch. I will say, I don't, like, listen, I'm not a fan of Nvidia, and I'm a big fan of watching their money not be in Jensen Huang's pockets. Anyways, so that happened. And then a little bit after that, OpenAI released a statement saying, we're pretty sure that the reason DeepSeek was able to train so efficiently, at least in part, was because they didn't have to put nearly as much money and time and effort into getting the information that the model was trained on, because they trained it on information spat out by ChatGPT, which, that's just grand. Like, the AIs are trained on the AI data? Wow. The crap hallucinated by, ChatGPT. The famous, for making pizza recipes that involve glue and crap like that, and telling people that eating 1 to 2 small rocks per day is a healthy lifestyle choice. Stuff like that. That's who you're training. Okay, good. Yep. Great. Love it. So yeah, there were a few things that came out of that. The biggest takeaway for you as a consumer listener is that I guess, we can see a little bit better how DeepSeek is being trained and organized than any of the other models before it, which is both nice because we have more detail into how it works as the populace, which, okay, that's nice. That's good. But also a little bit scary because it looks like the way that they've developed this thing learning it, they sure want this to be a general artificial intelligence at some point. That's how they've tried to code it. And it's not, to be clear. This thing isn't sentient or anything like that. And in fact, if you go and look at your app store of choice on your phone, the DeepSeek app is probably still at the top of the free downloads section. You can download it and use it in the same capacity as ChatGPT, I guess, if you want to, except if you say anything about China or the Chinese government, you are going to get a canned answer spat back out at you about how the CCP is great and party leader, what's his face, Winnie the Pooh is the greatest ever. And if our podcast wasn't already banned in China, it is now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, it's not going to change your life, listener. But if nothing else, Nvidia's stock tanked, and that was nice to see.
Well, there you go. Hey, speaking of Nvidia,
yep.
I'll let you say this next topic.
No, I want you to read
You want
this
me to
whole
say it?
thing
All
out,
right.
Wes. Yep.
Freaking Nvidia is freaking and Nvidia. something 580 launch is our next one.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up. So, listener, the 5090, we talked about that last week. This week, 5080, right? 5080 reviews went live, and both graphics cards were available for like 7 people to purchase. Now, what to say about the 5080 that hasn't already been said? I'm just going to summarize it this way. If you were hoping for a graphics card that was even remotely worth purchasing, then I'm afraid I'm going to have to break it to you that this is not that card. Do not buy a 5080. This is in part to do with the performance of the card, but I think that the video on Paul's Hardware on YouTube, if you go look that up, his 5080 video from this past week, he did not do a review of the 5080, right? In academic terms, what he did was he basically did a roundup. Oh gosh, what is the academic term for that? It's not a first party study. He didn't actually study the 5080. He studied the studies of the 5080, and I can't remember what that was called. I was going to make a really clever connection to academic studies and sound like a smart person. Totally blew up in my face just now because my memory sucks. But that's essentially what he did. He reviewed the reviews of the 5080 and kind of just did a holistic overview of the launch or of the card as a whole, and made the statement that there is no such thing as a bad graphics card, just bad pricing and bad positioning. And the 5080 is both of those, right? It's a $1,000 graphics card that performs maybe 10% better than the 4080 did. No. Oh, wow. Actually, hold on. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. This is my memory again, listener, which we know serves me so well.
It's going
I
really well.
think it was about 15% better than the 4080, about 10% better than the 4080 Ti, right? It is not a significant improvement over the card that it's supposed to be replacing. It is not significantly cheaper than the card it is supposed to be replacing. And in what is probably the most interesting wrinkle to all of this, it doesn't actually perform better than the next step up versus last generation, right? So if you've been paying attention to NVIDIA's graphics card launches for the past, decade or so, listener, you'll see a trend, which is that when a card launches, right, you've got your 60 series, your 70 series, your 80 series, and then lately your 90 series, which is sort of equivalent to the Titan series before we had 90s. Back in the 10 series, you didn't have a 1090, but you had a Titan X, right? So that was kind of the same equivalent to the 90 series that we have now, was those Titan cards. And from year to year, what you tended to see was, all right, you had your 1080 Ti was the top tier, absolute monster, whatever. The next year, you expected, or the next generation, right, you expected the 2070 to perform better than the 1080 Ti, right? And you wanted that 2080 to perform better than the Titan card did. And that's kind of right. Like, you'd go from one generation to the next. That's what generational improvement meant for these graphics cards, was that the tier below was going to match or exceed the performance of the tier above from the previous generation, right? So your 760 was, like the lowest end card, but it was going to perform better than the 670 from the previous generation. And your 1070 was the middle tier card for the 10 series, but it was going to perform better than the 980 Ti from the previous generation, and so on and so forth. It's been that way since the 600 series GPUs with Nvidia, right? The 700 cards, the 900 cards, the 1000 cards, and the 20 series, and the 30 series, and the 40 series, and here's the 50 series. And the 5090 was a little bit telling when it was only like, that's like 30% better, but it costs 30% more and draws 30% more power. It feels like this is exactly the same processor as they had in the 4090. They just overclocked it. The 5080 seems to be confirming that. This is not a 5080 series card. If this card was a 5070, then we'd be okay. If this performed this well right? Just barely matching or beating out the 4080 and 4080 Ti, but it said 5070 on the box. Okay, no complaints. That's a normal generational uplift. As it stands, this thing barely outperforms the 4080 Ti in anything other than the fact that the newest version of DLSS has the multi-frame gen crap that Nvidia says is all like, well, yeah, it's 3 times as many frames. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. Look, number go up. But it's AI hallucinations, Nvidia. It's not real, and we know that. And this is what Nvidia thinks of consumers. They just don't care. They've released essentially the same graphics card as last year, charged about the same price for it, and then said, hey, this software feature that is like whatever, that's the reason it's better. And we're artificially locking it to this latest generation of cards for reasons that don't matter. Just don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. It's awful. So don't buy a 5080, not that you could if you wanted to, because despite the best efforts of literally everybody in the tech journalism industry, they're sold out. Now, part of that is because, at least for the 5090s, evidently there was a total US stock of 5090s between Micro Center and Best Buy and like Newegg for third-party cards and stuff like that. All of these retailers combined, there was like a total stock of somewhere on the order of 400 cards for the 5090. And for the 5080, it was kind of in like the range of 1,500, maybe a little bit more than that. But that's it. And people were lined up at Micro Centers and Best Buys literally days in advance to try and get these cards, only to find out that there were a couple of Micro Centers that didn't actually get any 5090s from Nvidia. Just straight up zero. I'm like, what? So yeah, that people have accused Nvidia of this being a paper launch. And based on the fact that for 5090s, at least, it seems like there were almost 100 of them sent to tech reviewers and stuff. That's like fully a quarter of the units that were actually available for purchase. They sent them out to press outlets. So Nvidia clearly just wanted this to be in the news cycle. They didn't actually want to sell any products to consumers because consumers don't make the money. AI makes the money, except according to DeepSeek, no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So I'm angry with Nvidia. You can understand now, I think, listener, part of the reason why I was so happy to watch their stock price take a nosedive this past week. It's not great. It's not great. Don't love it. Don't buy a 5080. Don't buy a 5090. Don't buy any 50 series cards that we have seen so far. There's a small chance that the 5070 is going to blow us away at $550, but that's all I'm holding out hope for. I doubt the 5070 Ti is going to be noteworthy. I just don't think it will be.
Here's hoping, right?
I mean, I guess. I feel like
It's
I am
Nvidia.
so pessimistic about things these days.
Oh, it's okay. Hey, speaking of pessimistic, we should talk about this next topic.
Gosh dang it.
Guess what? Tariffs exist. That's our topic.
Yeah. So remember at the beginning of the year, listener, how I said that on my wish list that I didn't want any significant tariffs. So there's been some tariffs put into place this past week. Remains to be seen how significant they are actually going to be. From the perspective of tech, because we're a tech podcast, we're going to only focus on that. You can, I don't know, go. I don't even know where I would tell you to go get news on the other ones.
Yeah, I don't know.
PBS NewsHour. That seems to be like the least biased reporting source that I've found. The tech stuff. There's a 10% additional tariff being levied against products imported from China, which there were already pretty steep tariffs against products imported from China, listener. So this is just added on top of that, which doesn't automatically mean that the things that you purchase that are from China are going to be 10% more expensive, right? Like the way that tariffs work, the person who is importing the stuff is going to try and negotiate with the supplier of the stuff to get a slightly better rate in order to offset the cost of those tariffs. And so the price to them is going to go down a little bit, which means they're going to be able to keep the prices a little bit lower, and they may decide to eat some profit margin by like 1 or 2% in order to keep the hit from being too strong. But you're probably, you would expect with a 10% increase in tariffs to see like, I don't know, 5 to 7% increase in prices. That may not play out exactly like that, because for things sold directly to consumers outside of China by companies in China, retailers in China, the Chinese government has actually been absorbing the costs of those tariffs for several years, since Trump's last administration, right? So, that does mean that sites like your Temus and your Wish and Shein and AliExpress and whatnot, you're not necessarily going to see much of a price hike, if any, assuming the Chinese government continues with that policy of kind of absorbing those tariffs for stuff sold directly to consumers. So, because they're trying to kind of bolster those companies, those retailers, to compete with the retailers that operate from inside the United States, like Amazon. So do what you will with that information based on your, political leanings. Just the takeaway is that 10% is going to exist, and you're probably going to see some prices go up on the tech that you buy. Hard to say exactly how much, and it's difficult to say exactly where you're going to see that stuff. But what I will say is, if you're starting to see prices creep up on Amazon, you might want to download Temu or AliExpress. There's risks associated with shopping there, like on those platforms. But what I will say is that you can check out with PayPal on both of those, and PayPal's money back buyer protection stuff is pretty robust. It does a pretty good job of protecting you as the consumer if you don't actually get the item that you ordered. So just, you kind of have to be a bit savvy about weeding out the scams that are listed on those sites from the actual products that are okay to buy, because there's plenty of scams. So I don't know. The whole landscape is fraught, and there doesn't seem to be a good answer. And it may not matter, because smaller tech purchases may become less important to you depending on how much you like fresh vegetables and that kind of thing. Because totally unrelated tariffs might be having a significant effect on stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it.
Okay. Let's move on. Hey, guess what? Pebble is back.
Yeah. Well, here's some more good news, listener. So,
which is how it's not my topic.
That's fair. That's fair. So, I don't know, listener, how old you are or how long you've, been following the tech industry, but a while ago, it's probably been 12 years ago, something like that a little company called Pebble announced a Kickstarter campaign with this new smartwatch. And this was back in the time when smartwatches were not a thing. Like, Fitbit was a thing. The little fitness trackers, like the original Fitbits that didn't really do much. They didn't even really tell time, So smartwatches were not a thing. So this company, Pebble, comes out with this smartwatch that they launched on Kickstarter, like I said. And at the time, they were like the highest, they made the most money off Kickstarter out of anybody up to that point. They were the first Kickstarter campaign to get over $1 million, I believe. And
they kind of actually launched Kickstarter accidentally.
Kind of. I mean, Kickstarter had been around for a little while, but nobody really knew what it was or used it until Pebble And then a lot more people started using it.
So many of the Kickstarters prior to that were like, hey, it's popular, and then nothing was ever delivered. But
Yeah.
Pebble actually did deliver.
Yeah. And like I said, listener, if you don't know what Pebble is, the first smartwatch that they made, well, all the smartwatches they only made, I think, 3, maybe two,
Yeah,
maybe
just
only
3.
two or 3.
Was it only 2?
It was at least 2, if not, I think there was a third one. Anyways, it was an e-paper display, so an e-ink, like a Kindle type, book reader type thing, that type of display, and it had physical buttons. It was not touchscreen, and it was just very basic. It just sent you a notification saying, hey, you got a text message, or you're getting a phone call, or something like that. And that's all it really was. Nothing compared to what your Apple Watch or your Samsung Watch or even what your Garmin watch can do nowadays. But it was, like I said, the first iteration of a smartwatch, and it was super popular. Everyone that had one absolutely loved them. I really, really, really wanted one back in the day. I never was able to get one, but man, I really wanted one. And then they came out with one, like, I think it was the second version, had a red body with a black watch band, and I absolutely I wanted that one so bad. But again, I never ended up getting one. But Pebble was eventually purchased by Fitbit, and as you might know, Fitbit was then purchased by Google. So Google actually owns the source code for Pebble OS, interestingly enough. Pebble, I mean, they haven't come out with anything. When Fitbit bought them, Fitbit didn't really do anything with Pebble, and then Google definitely didn't do anything with Pebble. So it's been a long time since anything has happened when it comes to Pebble. But
yeah,
the original CEO and founder of Pebble, after they got bought by Fitbit, he went off on his own. He's actually one of the main guys behind the app Beeper, which we did talk about on this podcast, listener, a few years ago. They're the ones that were trying to make it so you could use iMessage on Android and different things like that, and it was kind of successful for like a day and a half. But that guy, he actually reached out to someone at Google, and somehow, like, he was just like, hey, is there any way that I could either buy the source code or if you guys want to do something with this Pebble OS? And then he never heard anything back from him. And from what I understand, it was about a year later, which just happened to be this past week, Google just shared Pebble OS source code. It's just now out there for anybody to use. It's basically now just open source.
Yeah, it's just open source.
And that's fantastic. And the original founder of Pebble said, okay, we're making a new watch. They can't use the name Pebble because that's technically owned by Google, but they have announced that they are going to be making basically a Pebble smartwatch again, coming out sometime this year, they're hoping. So, I mean, like I said, no hardware has been announced yet, but the fact that the source code is now out there for anybody to use, like, you could go and make your own smartwatch if you really wanted to using this source code. Or, like I said, just wait for these people to make one for you, then you could buy it from them. And based on technology now, it's going to be even cheaper than what the original Pebble watch was back in the day, which was only like $100, if that. It was not expensive. And he has also said that he's going to be making basically a Pebble watch. Like, it's going to have the e-ink display. It's going to be very basic and simple. And he's also said, he's like, we're not catering to the masses. We're catering to those that still use a Pebble smartwatch, because there are those out there. He is one of them. He still has a Pebble smartwatch that he's somehow made to last as long as it has. And so he doesn't care if this sells like gangbusters like it did originally, because it won't, I guarantee it. But it'll sell enough that it'll be worth it for the people working on it. And I'm actually very excited to see what they do using this open source operating system. And it should be fun. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah. It actually is kind of awesome because, like, I have on and off been paying attention to the Pine 64 watch that they've been, the Pine Time, I think I think, because it's a watch, which is sort of has the same ethos as the Pebble. Open source software, basically open hardware development, and it's simplified. It's designed around like basic stuff like step tracking, obviously keeping your time and timers and stuff like that, and then delivering notifications and stuff like that from your phone with the expectation that you're gonna just grab the phone to actually do stuff, right? The watch itself isn't supposed to be super functional. It's just supposed to be cheap and open and reliable and have long battery life and stuff like that, which is everything that the Pebble was.
Yeah.
Right? The Pebble was never like, oh, I'm going to like play games. I'm going to run Doom on a Pebble kind of thing. Nobody wanted that. Everybody was just like, I just want my notifications so that I know if I need to look at my phone that just buzzed or if I can ignore it for now. I want it to tell time. I want it to track steps and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, that's like, I love the ethos of it. And I'm really interested to see what they produce.
Yeah. And like, the original Pebble, I want to say had like 7-day battery life. Which,
no, it's really good.
Is really good. But with the technology we have now, like Garmin watches with way more functionality can get 30 plus days on a single charge. And that's not the solar versions of those watches either. I mean, those ones can go forever as long as you have sunlight. But their regular ones can go for long periods of time. So I would imagine that with new technology, and like Pebble could add functionality to these watches like a step counter, just basic fitness features, nothing major, on an e-paper display, and probably easily get 30 plus days of battery life. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. And Caleb kind of went past it because it's open source. I guarantee Doom is going to be on one of these watches.
That's very true.
Very
that's
quickly.
very true.
Fair. Friggin' awesome. I mean, gotta have Doom on something more than, whatever we can. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on. We got some gaming news here. Just something real quick. This is just Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation 5. I mean,
there it is.
That's on this podcast. We're aware that Microsoft is sending their games out, right? Like we've accepted that Microsoft is trying to make money type thing. So okay. So, listener, you may like it, you may not like it. I don't know. I guess I look at it. I'm like, hey, more players.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what there is to not like about this. Because even as an Xbox gamer, like, listen, as a PC gamer, could not care less. An Xbox gamer, I suppose, is like, but the exclusives. I'm like, okay, but also, maybe you just want to have more people that you can race against. Larger install base. Is that not better?
Install base, community. But also,
the PlayStation 5 is outselling the Xbox by a ridiculous amount, guys. I don't know if you knew. So there's a lot more people.
But also, it's more money for games.
Yeah. Like, if you're the one complaining about this, like, well, now the friends of yours that don't have an Xbox, which I guarantee you have friends that don't have an Xbox, they can play the game with you now because they have a PlayStation.
It's wonderful. This is what we love. All games should just be published on all platforms. Hey, it's almost like that's the name of the podcast or something. Anyways.
It's true. I mean, this is... you can call me an Xbox fanboy, but I mean, I get exclusives, but I also understand, hey, I mean, this type of game, you need people to play. Like, a lot of people enjoy. So this isn't a single player game. This isn't a tech game that only Microsoft's tech can do. This is Forza. This is awesome.
Yeah, I honestly think that the day of the exclusive isn't necessarily dead, but it's on its last breath, in my opinion.
It's dying.
There will obviously be games, even from Microsoft, that are exclusive to the Xbox for a period of time. I don't think the solely exclusive game to at least to the Xbox is a thing, and I don't think it's going to happen anymore. It's going to be like, okay, this game came out of our studios. It's going to be exclusive for 6 months, but then it's going to be available anywhere. Whereas I could see PlayStation holding out for a little while longer just because they don't.
That's their model.
That's their model.
Yeah.
But eventually, I could even see them, like I said, a little further down the road, but I could see them seeing the competition and be like, well, we want to make more money selling games because it's after they've made their money back from developing it, it's just free money at that point. So okay, we can open it up to PlayStation or whatnot, or to Xbox. So I could see that happening again. It's going to be a while longer for that to happen. But when it comes to Microsoft and Xbox, I just don't see exclusive, like very exclusive games coming out anymore.
If I were, okay, this is me just throwing this out there. I guess I'm giving the exclusive argument a bone, if you will. The thing I'm seeing here is Microsoft wants to make money so that they can make the exclusives. So what do? Have PlayStation players buy their games so they can make the exclusives, or Game Pass, so that the PlayStation players will have to buy Game Pass to play the games. There you go. There's the bone. But I mean
here's the thing. The traditional concept of exclusives is that they exist to sell
the console
hardware,
yep.
Right? Like you sell the console at cost, and then you sell the games for the console. That's where you make your money.
Correct.
But I think that Microsoft, like Sony, clearly still wants to do that. I think Microsoft doesn't.
I don't. Yeah, they're not going to put an emphasis on it. I still think
I think we're kind of in a post-console era for Xbox, which isn't to say that there aren't going to be any more Xboxes. It's just that the Xboxes that they launch are going to more and more just be slightly, basically just PCs with an edited version of Windows on them.
Mm-hmm.
And the price for performance might, I don't know if it'll just creep up or if they're going to just straight up switch to selling you a PC like with a discrete graphics card in it as opposed to a unified chip that they develop custom with AMD and stuff like that. Like it's really hard to say what the future is going to look like for them. Honestly, It might look like a Switch. They might just go whole hog into partnering with somebody to make a handheld, and that's the new Xbox console from here on out. But they want to be a services company, right? And they want to sell you games, sure, but also they want to sell you Game Pass. They want to sell you Xbox Live. And so they can sell that to you kind of wherever you're at. And I honestly think that if they could launch Game Pass on PlayStation, they would.
Oh, they 100% would.
Oh, yeah.
They would totally do that. And I honestly think that we're going to see them pushing and releasing more and more of the games that are on Game Pass to PlayStation, with the hope that at some point in time, they're going to be able to get PlayStation to let them do that, because they just want people to pay for Game Pass.
Yeah.
So yeah, they want to be a services company. Yeah. On the Switch as well. They want to be a services company. They want to sell you services and games, and they'll sell you hardware too. If you want to buy the hardware, that's fine. You can buy it. But honestly, at this point, I think that Microsoft would rather sell you a PC with a Windows license, and then you can play all the PlayStation games on Steam as well. Yes, that's right. I just turned this news item into an argument for buying a PC and playing your games on that, listener. How do you like that?
Here's the thing. You're not wrong. If you look at all these things we're saying, Microsoft is winning each individual thing. Like, I just think that's just it. Like, me, yeah, it would suck if they stopped making the hardware, but I still have my games. I still have my Microsoft account that has all my digital library. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And they don't want to take that away from you. They just want you to be able to play it wherever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So okay.
So, yeah. So, I guess I look at it like, I still feel that there's going to be consoles, but I also feel like the console might evolve. Hence the handheld.
Yeah.
The handheld, the phone, the the cloud gaming,
honestly-
everything that they're trying to offer.
I honestly really, really hope that the way the console evolves is SteamOS, an open source operating system that you can install on anything, and then that's your console. Freaking awesome. Like, that
Right.
would be, and honestly, SteamOS gives you a really good handheld experience, and it would give you a pretty darn good living room experience too, which is the main reason for not just dunking a PC in next to your TV, is because the living room experience of using Windows is a dog. It's awful. Like, it's so bad. So yeah, SteamOS kind of solves those problems, and I know that there's kind of a conflict of interest in this regard, so it's hard to say whether or not Microsoft would do this, but I would love for Game Pass to show up on SteamOS.
Yeah.
I would love that.
You never know with what they're doing.
It's not
so.
impossible, but that's the one thing, the one place for Game Pass that I feel like just is going to be the biggest stretch, you know?
Yeah.
It's like everything's an Xbox except your Steam Deck. That's not an Xbox. The one thing.
Well, let's go back to what we were saying. Forza Horizon 5 is coming to PlayStation 5 in the spring, they said. You're going to get everything, the Hot Wheels DLC, the Hot Wheels Rally Adventure, everything. And they did say that there will be an update, just like they did with Sea of Thieves before it's launched. There will be an update to the whole game, community, everything, update to include the PlayStation. Yeah, I mean, this is happening. They're rolling it out. I mean, even in an interview, they talked about Starfield. They're like, hey, Starfield, what was the word that they used? It was like, is there a red line? And Phil Spencer said, I'm not committing to any red lines. Like saying what's not moving over to another. So,
you know what would actually be awesome is if they went and backported Forza Horizon 4 to the PlayStation 4, and then Forza Horizon 3 to the PlayStation 3.
I don't know, because remember the licenses of
and then Horizon 2 to the PlayStation 2, and Horizon 1 for the original PlayStation on disc only, obviously.
On disc, yeah.
Like, I would actually pay really good money for a version of the original Horizon that had been backported for the PlayStation 1, just to say that they did that for each of the console generations, because this is Horizon 5 on the PlayStation 5. It's the only console family that makes sense with their numbering, so I feel like we ought to commemorate that somehow.
That's actually pretty funny. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. This next one's just kind of quick. The esports platform StartGG is parting ways with Microsoft. Now, I did talk about this back in 2020 when Microsoft bought this company, StartGG. So what they're an online tournament platform. So like for your online tournament, setting them up for like Smash Brothers, Rocket League, Pokemon, things like that. We just didn't hear anything for the longest time, and I totally forgot about this. So now I'm not in this scene either for this on there, but they got their independence back from Microsoft, and they did say that the team is now planning to return to its roots as a platform supporting esports communities, but it is also changing how it operates. The biggest change is the new 6% platform fee that will apply to online transactions starting on February 14th. So figured I'd go ahead and let those people know, listener, if you know that stuff, well, here you go. This is going to be happening. So
Yep,
they're no longer with Microsoft. So
definitely, I've been paying attention to Start.gg over the past 5 years. Totally.
Have you?
100%. No, absolutely.
I was like, I haven't. I was like, wow, okay.
100% forgotten that this company or this service existed.
Well, I did
like
too.
that.
Last time I was looking, I'm like, wait, what is this? Oh, that's right. We did talk about this. That was back in 2020.
Yeah.
So,
See, I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm like, what the heck is what?
yeah. So I just remember because 2020 we were actually talking about like the fighting games like Killer Instinct and things when we were talking about the Smash, obviously Super Smash Brothers. But yeah, we did talk about it, and I was like, oh, well, there you go. I figured I'd do an update on it. Yep. So that's it. So if you're part of that, not, well, we'll move on. Well, listener, We appreciate you listening at the end of the episode. I think this is the end, unless, Landon, you have one more thing for us?
Nope.
That exchange keeps getting longer for both
I've
of you
noticed it's like every
time.
couple seconds. It just
It's expanding.
Just wait till it's like 5 minutes of nothing.
Yeah, would you do that? Really? Would you?
I'm gonna just start inserting like readings of like open source or like public domain books and poems into those gaps.
I could just edit it to be 5 minutes long if I wanted to.
You could. But let's
Dracula,
let's not do that.
Chapter 1. Let's start there. Pride and Prejudice.
Well, listener, we appreciate you listening to us for this shorter episode, but hey, we appreciate you listening anyway. If you want to get a hold of us, you can over at our social media platforms, as well as callingallplatforms.com. If you want to check out our YouTube channel, it is there, Calling All Platforms Gaming and Calling All Platforms Tech. I don't think that anything coming up on those things there,
It is
Caleb?
there. That is the thing you can say about it.
Okay, it's there. All right, listener, have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.